have a set for the excavation project, but we will do one for this project as well. So this is the model I had yesterday, if you guys remember. Huh? Oh, sorry. Sorry. Do you? How many of you finished your? How many of you finished your salt model? How many of you finished your salt model? You're modifying? Okay. Like, let me know if you need this guy to work on, or you can work on your own file. That's perfectly fine for me. You want this one as well? Okay. I'll upload it on T-Square. Don't use it for this. Okay. You can just overnight. You can just cut the pieces and remodel it. Poet South sidebar. I'm going to add it here, okay? Add upload files. It should be called ISO. Alright, ISO. So this is the file I have. So we're going to do one plan and one section. So let's work with the section first. So I'm going to do a clipping plane. And he said east-west. So east-west is this way. So that means we're going to cut through the tall building and the pitched roof building, right? So I'm going to type in clipping plane. Actually, let's create a layer for clipping planes. Clipping plane. And I'm going to give it a color. Let's make it green. I'm going to double click to activate that layer and type in clipping plane. Now for my section cut, it's going to be a vertical clipping plane, right? So I'm going to do yeah, we're sectioning the side as well. So I'm going to just draw an edge. Doesn't matter where you draw it. I'm just going to create my clipping plane here because we can move it in to see where we want to cut the section from, right? So that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, so I'm going, like, this is east-west, so I'm cutting this way. This is correct way, right? East-west is this way or this way? This is east-west. I think this is south and north, so this is east and west. Okay, so you have to cut through these two buildings as well, right? So that's kind of alright. That's fine. So now I'm going to move in. So what are we doing? We are trying to find, we can keep on the ortho. I'm trying to find a point where I will get a nice section drawing for my project. So this is not a bad section. We could use something like this. I'm going in a bit more. This is not a bad section. So basically one of these I could select. So let's do this guy. Okay? So I'm cutting through these walls. I'm not cutting through steps, which is really important. You should cut through actual physical levels you're using in your project. Don't cut through the middle of the stairs because then you have irregularity. So let me show you what it looks like. So if I cut through these steps, look at what I see. I see partial steps here blocking my view. Partial steps going up here blocking my view. It will be more of a confusing drawing, right? You want to cut through something where you can refer to the levels you are creating in your project. So you want to make sure that you cut through the landings. So that's why I'm going to cut through here. The other thing is, most of the time, you want to show openings as much as possible, as well as structure, right? So structure we normally show in sections as slabs, and we maintain some of the vertical main walls. But you want to also show as much openings as possible. So I have an opening here, but then I cut through the wall, and it's pretty much a similar situation here. So I'm going to go with this section so that at least I have this opening and this opening in my section, and I'm kind of cutting through this wall here, so which is fine, right? So this is the section I want to use. And how did I find it? I created a vertical clipping plane. I kind of moved it in and out. I'm not cutting through the stairs, I'm cutting through the landings and slabs. And I'm trying to find a nice position where I'm not flush with any geometry, right? You also don't want to draw anything, you don't want to cut through, for instance, this element. You don't want to cut through it because it is it's a perpendicular element to your section. You want to see it in elevation, or you want to cut through the void and see it in elevation, right? That's what you want to do. You don't want to cut columns perpendicularly. You never draw sections through columns. Okay? So I'm regarding that as a column. But these are continuous walls, so inevitably I have to cut through some of them. So I'm kind of making a compromise, like cutting through this one and seeing these openings basically. So this is the section I want to draw. What do? I need to find an orthographic view that sees this view perpendicularly. Like, so I'm kind of going to see it in parallel projection. And by parallel projection, what do we mean? Parallel projection means that we're going to see, right now I'm investigating my model in perspectival view, so everything has a vanishing point. They're kind of going away, they're getting smaller as they are further away from my location. But in parallel projection, everything is the same size and same width. There's no shrinking, there's no vanishing, so everything is projected onto a plane. So it will be basically an orthographic drawing. So in our case, this section is looking to, if I look at the front view, it's pretty much seeing the building from the back view. So I'm going to right click here and set this view to be the back view. So now it's kind of looking the same. Now if I want to see the section here, I need to activate the clipping plane on this view as well. So I need to select the clipping plane, go to properties, clipping plane options, and I need to activate it in the back view as well. This is kind of it's showing you views clipped, right? So if the view is checked here, it means that the clipping plane will clip that view, will be clipping model in that view. So I'm kind of getting similar geometry here, so I'm going to just use here, right? So how did we do it last time? We did two things. We cut a section to get the lines we wanted, and then we did make 2D to get the lines in elevation, right? So that's what I'm going to do again. So I go to, let's say, the top view. This is where my clipping plane is, so that's where I want to cut my section. So I'm going to go to my layers and create two layers. I'm going to call them, call one of them section, and make it, let's say, red. And the other ones, they're going to be elevation, right? So they will be behind my view basically. So now I'm going to switch to the section layer, and I'm going to type in section, and it says select objects for sections. I want to select my site model and my building and confirm the selection. Then it says start of selection. I'm going to choose first extend selection option, and then I want to snap to the clipping plane, so my snap is turned off right now because my object snap options are turned off. So I'm going to enable object snap options, then endpoints, so that now I can grab to the endpoints of the clipping plane to draw a line. So I'm going to draw a line here and right click, and that will give me geometry here where the cut is made. If you want to see that, we could just hide these elements, hide the model. These are the lines I got basically for my section, right? And I need to clean this up, but I also need to get what I see in elevation. So I'm going to bring back my model. This is my model. I don't need to bring the site back, I think. Let me see if we are looking to the park, so there's no building in the back, right? So we don't need to bring the site model. We could just bring our physical model, but it's fine if you want to keep everything. So what I'm going to do is draft the drawing here. So my section lines are in place, so I'm going to, in order to grab them individually, I'm going to go to the section layer, right click to it, and do select objects. It will give me all the line geometry that belongs to that layer, and I'm going to move them to the side of the drawing. So let's say we want to displace them by 50 inches, right? So I'm kind of creating a template for my drawing. Then the next thing is I want to get the elements in elevation. So I now switch to my elevation layer. And I come in here, type in make 2D. I want to select everything so that I can get the projection drawing. And in this view tab, I'm going to choose maintain source layers. And I want to choose current C-plane so that when I generate that drawing, it's in place and I can juxtapose it with my section lines. Right? I want to choose current C-plane. I'm going to hit OK. And I should get some elevation lines. So this is my elevation lines basically, right? So where does this go? This overlaps with the section, right? This should go right here because they need to overlap. I'm still getting some similar geometry, but we're going to filter through them, right? Because elevation and section need to be on different levels, layers, so that we can apply different line weights. Now I want to snap this guy as well. Let's say intersection. Does it have to be vertex? Why can't I put it there? Let's see. Okay, so my C-plane is basically the construction plane. My section is generated along my clipping plane, and that's where my elevation is. So what I could do, let me see, if we turn on project, we should still be grabbing some of these. Let's enable these guys. You had this problem before? This is really weird, I mean, because there are these geometries. You should be able to okay, it's grabbing onto this guy but not to the other one for some reason. I don't know why. So I could just use this to overlap them. I'm just trying to overlap them basically, right? So now the two drawings are overlapped. Now what do? I need to clean up my section, so I'm going to switch to my section, hide my elevation. These guys are in make 2D layer, so let's do this first. Let's hide my section, select all of these guys and move them to the elevation layer, right? So I go to properties tab and switch their layer to elevation, and then I want to hide the elevation and isolate section lines so that I can clean it up. Any questions so far? I'm going to do the same thing for plan again. Huh? You want me to review the process? Maybe make another section drawing? Is it clear enough? Yeah, it's pretty much the same steps. But one important thing here, since it's going to be a line drawing, what you want to do is make the ground line a separate line and make the cut lines another separate line as well, right? So, and make them connected basically, sorry. So I'm going to hit trim, and I want to start trimming these joints where there are overlaps basically, so that this will become a continuous line for the section, right? So I want to remove these intersections so that the whole cut element will be highlighted with a continuous line weight and a continuous line. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to cut these joints, cut this guy as well, and this will be basically my section outline. And you could technically delete this line as well, the bottom of the landscape, so that you could keep this as your datum. So you could delete this one, you could delete this one as well. So this will be one continuous line for the cut elements, and it will be a tick line weight because it's cut, right? And then what I want to do is switch the elevation layer, hide the section, and see if I need to do any cleanup here as well. So what kind of cleanup do we have to do? What we could do is look at our geometry and see if we need to join any type of surfaces. So in my model, these surfaces are basically flush. So what I need to do is I could just come in here and clean these lines, right? So I could just do trim again and delete these extensions, so this reads as a continuous surface. So this type of operation you will have to do. Everything else is, I think, separate elements, and most of them will be highlighted as cut as well, so we don't have to assign line weights or trim them. So I think this will be an okay template to go with. And I'm going to basically delete the ground here as well. So this will be my section, and this will be my elevation. Let me see if we can preview the line weight here. Line type. I guess not. I think it's doable in layout. Anyway, so this is my drawing. Let's look at the dimension. The wall is 13.5, and this drawing has to be, the wall is 13 inches, so this has to be 1/8 inch equals 1 foot, right? Is that correct? And in that case, the model is the same, 1/8 inch equals 1 foot? Huh? 1/4. Because the drawings have to be 1/8 inch. So that means this has to shrink by 50%. Right? Okay. So I could do scale, select this guy, 0.5. This will be the drawing. It will be 15 inches wide. Right? So I'm going to select this guy, file, export selected, save it as Illustrator section. Actually, let me get the plan lined up on top of it and export both of them. Let's do it that way. Okay? So I'll go to the top view. Now we're going to do the plan. So I could do another clipping plane for the plan. So I go to the clipping plane layer again and switch to the perspective view. I'm going to disable this clipping plane in perspective view so that we can use the other one to see the plan cut. So I'm going to type in clipping plane again. This time it's going to be a 3-point clipping plane, and I'm just going to draw. You could also draw a rectangle. So just draw this rectangle, and then you want to move it up. So I type in move, and then I'm selecting the vertical option so that I could just start rising above and see where I want to cut this building. So I want to find a nice point, right? We also don't want to cut it closer to the ground so that when you draft it you get a lot more geometry, surfaces, like details to show, basically, maybe stairs as well. So again, when you're drawing plans, you don't want to cut through the steps, right? So where I want to cut through is somewhere in the middle. So let's see. Let's do it this way. Let's open the perspective here and then move our clipping plane in section little by little so that we could see what's going on. Actually, I do have stairs. I do have to cut through stairs. What you don't want to do is you don't want to make the section flush to the floor slab, right? So you want to cut through a level where you're only cutting through the walls and then seeing below, basically. So we could do, let me do, this is not a bad plan. This could be one. The other one would be a bit below, where we would see more elements. So let's actually do this guy. This is not bad. So I'm going to cut through a bit more. So this is going to be my plan. Okay? And look at where I'm cutting it from. I'm cutting through these steps, this step. So what I'm going to do is draft these with dashed lines, the ones that are going to be behind my view. And the ones that I'm seeing, I will be drafting them with lines as well. And I tried to cut through a level where I could see most of the detail, the columns of the plan. And I'm cutting through these buildings as well somehow, so I will have to give them thicker line weights as well. So again, similar process. So I go to an elevation view. I'm going to switch to layers, section, double click to the section. Then I'm going to type in section. You want to select your model. And then you want to draw a line along the clipping plane so that you get these section lines, right? And if you switch to the top view, the cut lines will be drafted there. So you could just type in move again and move them out of your drawing. Let's displace them again by 50 inches. So they're located on the side of our model. So these are all the cut elements in my model. And then I need an elevation of the model as well. So what I need to do is first activate my clipping plane in top view. So I go to properties, activate the top view clipped, and then come down here and then type in make 2D, but I want to switch to actually type in make 2D, select the objects, the model. Then what you could do here is for the visible lines you could directly select the layer to put them into, right? So I could choose elevation layer to put them into. So before I was using make 2D layers that are automatically created, but you can also assign a layer where you want the visible lines to be placed. And I'm also selecting current C-plane for drawing layout. And I'm going to hit OK. And I get all the lines in elevation. And I'm going to type in move and displace it by 50 inches as well. So this would overlap with my plan drawing, right? So now I got this drawing. So I have cut elements and I have elements in elevation. Okay? So I need to do just a little bit of editing to my steps, to the staircase drawing. So because we don't draw the stairs like this. And I'll show you how you can draw them. So I'm going to hide my elevation. You can see that we cut these steps basically right here. So what I'm going to do instead is draw in this layer, draw a 45-degree angle line, something, let me see if it will snap. Draw a 45-degree line like this, and then you want to place it somewhere here. And then make a copy. Let's move it by 0.1 inch, so you like make it double lines. Now this is kind of a location where the stair is cut, right? So what I'm going to do is the steps above that line, above the top line, will be solid lines, and the steps below the bottom line will be dashed, right? Because they will be above my head. But in elevation drawing, I already got some steps that are below my view as well. So I technically don't have to add dashed lines there. So all I have to do is get rid of this section cut line here, the red, and then use trim and clean up these steps here to indicate that I'm partially cutting through the steps there, right? And then the rest of the stuff I'm seeing below. You could do lighter basically, yeah, because this is under my view, right? Like below my view. All of these basically. So all of these would be lighter because they're below my view. Make sense? This is where I cut. So this will be normal line weight. Okay? And I also got some lines from my model. Basically, I had like wall overlapping here with the steps, so I don't need these two lines because this is a continuous surface. So you want to eliminate those lines where you think the surfaces are connected. So I may have to look at my model to confirm the continuous surfaces. So for instance, this is the orientation for my plan. This surface is continuous, right? This whole surface is continuous, as well as it goes all the way up to here actually. So when I look at my plan, there shouldn't be any line here, and there shouldn't be any line here as well. So I need to delete these guys because this is one continuous space. If you look at my model, now this guy is below my level, so that has to be lighter, right? And the other stuff is also below my eye level. So basically, this level only has this space, and everything else I'm seeing needs to be lighter because they're behind my view. So what I could do is put these guys into a separate layer and give them a lighter line weight because they'll be below my view. So let's do that. Let's call it light and choose these lines here. What you could do is lock the section layer so that you could grab them all at once, and go to properties, object, and layer, choose light, and I'll just change the color as well so that you will see I only updated the layer of these lines because they're below my view, right? This black line is where I'm cutting my slab. Actually, this also has to be a black line because that's the outline of the slab, so that has to be elevation. This is where that slab ends, and everything else I'm seeing below. Okay? And these lines will be eventually lighter, but we could make it in Illustrator easier. So this is kind of the outline for my plan, basically. Alright, so now I'm going to export these drawings. Let's export the plan. This guy, let's export it as plan. Let's call it ISO plan. And I'm going to switch to Adobe Illustrator's file type, save it. Oh, now this has to be basically I'm doing 1:1, right? But this has to be 1/8 as well. So in this case, I need to do 1 inch equals 0.5 inches when I export so that it shrinks by 50%, right? So I need to do 0.5 here. This is 0.5. So 1 inch in my model will be exported, will become 0.5 inches after exported. So I'm going to hit OK. Now that one is exported, and the other drawing I did was the section, which is here. I'm going to choose it and do File, Export Selected. This one is already in scale, so I'm going to do Section, ISO Section, Save. We don't have to change the scale for this. This is 1:1 because I already scaled it manually. So both of my drawings are exported. And let's open them in Illustrator now. I'm cutting through the red elements in plan, and the black lines are in elevation, as well as the magenta lines. The magenta lines are going to be lighter. But I also have some elements that I'm not seeing in this view, which are above my head, and they have to be dashed. And one way to see them would be to flip the direction of your clipping plane and do a make 2D in the opposite direction, and try to juxtapose it with your plan, right? So I'll show you how you can do that. So basically, the geometry that is above my head, I can see it by flipping the direction of my clipping plane. So I select the clipping plane, go to the properties, and choose flip direction. So this way it will be filtering the elements that I'm actually using to draft the plan, right? But I also want to see what's above my head. I want to see this geometry as well. So what I could do is go to, not to the top view, but go to the bottom view. So I go to Set View Bottom. So this would be the geometry that is above my head. And then I can do a Make 2D to these guys. So I can go to the layer and do a new layer, call it Overhead, and make it, let's say, orange. And then I'm going to Make 2D to the bottom view, choose these geometries, and put visible lines into Overhead layer. And then we could also overlap that. Let me see if I got anything. select anything. Let me see. Okay. Huh? So make 2D. These in bottom view. Current C plane. Visible lines in overhead. Hit OK. I actually don't get any lines there for some reason. But I'm choosing the current C plane, so it should work actually. I'm choosing the current C plane. Oh, you mean top view. Okay, I see what you mean. So these guys, right? Yes, it is. That's a good point. Okay, so I'm just going to move them out. And then, okay. So basically, this guy, you need to... Okay. So let's back up. So I want to do overhead, alright? I want to use, I'm going to use the back here and then do set view to the bottom and choose the clipping plane, and under the active layers switch to bottom but deactivate top, right? So when I go to bottom layer and do make 2D, I choose the model, make 2D, and I want to put everything to overhead layer and maintain source layers, and I'm choosing current C plane. When I hit OK, I get my lines in top view. And those will be overhead geometry. You missed that? Okay. So that this will be overhead stuff. But it's pretty much the same thing. I don't have anything over, like, above my head, right? So I mean, if there were like another plane there, we could have found it. But this is pretty much the same cut. I'll just do it one more time so that you guys could see. So basically, to get the overhead projection, this is normally how we are doing our plan cut, right? So we are cutting through the model and looking down. So to get the geometry that I'm filtering out, I need to flip the direction of the clipping plane that I use for the plan. So I choose the clipping plane and then do flip direction, so I could see the geometry that is above my head. And to draft that, I created a new viewport that looks at the bottom. And then that clipping plane makes sure that the bottom view is clipped, but the top view is not clipped. Because when you do make 2D in this drawing, the lines get filtered out. So you want to do make 2D to the bottom layer, to the bottom view, where you see the overhead geometry. And then again, the same stuff, current C plane, maintain source layers and overhead. And when you hit OK, the lines will be drafted to top view, and then you can use move and dislocate them the same amount so that they overlap with the actual geometry, and you can make them dashed basically, so they're overhead geometry. In my case, I don't have any overhead geometry, so that's pretty much it. One single board that is 24 by 36. So open your template file, go to document setup, edit artboards. I'm going to delete most of these and just leave one, and then resize it to be 24 by 36. This is for the drafting exercise, so you won't mount these on the foam board basically. You won't. It's just, so I'm just going to open the plan. Make sure that the layer option paste remembers layers. So Control C to copy, and then go to the template, Control V to paste. This will go somewhere here. And bring in the section as well. And for the section, same thing. So basically the section will line up with the plan. Now here's the issue. What you want to do is draft it in such a way that you're cutting the section. I mean, it would be nice to align these actually with the section, right? Mine is flipped. So I'm basically cutting and looking down. Does everybody see why I'm saying that? Because the pitched roof building is on the left here on the plan, but in section it's on the right. So you may want to keep them the same. Okay. And let's do the line weights quickly. So basically, the elevation lines, let's hide them. Why didn't I get any? Let me see again. I didn't get any. For the elevation, I didn't get the section lines, so let me export that again. Set view, front. Okay, there it is. So I'll just select this guy. Set view, I think this was from the back. File, export selected. ISO section. This is 1:1 as well. And this is my section. So now what you want to do is make the section lines the same line weight and thick and black, of course. So you may want to grab the 2 punto black here. Use the eyedropper shortcut is I and make it 2 so that these lines are thick, right? And then for the elevation, you want to make them lighter, so let's make it 0.5. And the light is even lighter, so make it 0.2. And black as well. Okay, so this is kind of how it looks for my plan. And I made a mistake in section. Since we are not going to poche these, make sure that your elevation lines are not cutting through the section lines, right? So I have these lines here, so I need to clean this up basically. And you don't want to clean it up in Illustrator because it's so much easier in Rhino. I mean, if I have to do it here, I have to use the scissor tool. Basically, where is it? Scissors, and then so you want to select and cut these like one by one. It's going to be really tedious. Say what? Not over the wall that is cut. It will still, like, there shouldn't be anything inside these cut wall lines. This should be full white. No other lines. Huh? Well, if there's something above that goes through that wall, it will be disconnected when it goes through that wall in the line drawing. So it will be empty. Actually, this section bugs me a bit, so I'm going to clean it up. So come down here, trim. So basically, what you want to do is do trim, select the section, and then come in here and delete these. Well, I can't do it because I don't think they overlap. So if I go to the perspective, they're spaced out like this because one of them we use the section tool, the other one we use the make 2D. So if you want to overlap these, just do set PT, set point, and you can line them up using the Y value, right? So that these kind of overlap. And now I'll be able to do the trim. So I could come back here, type in trim, select the section, and then clean it up. So I can clean up all these lines. There shouldn't be anything inside the cut lines. Any other lines penetrating through them as well, they should be erased. Here as well. There's a little bit of cleaning up today in mine, so I expect there will be some in yours as well. But that's pretty much it. And these lines, they shouldn't be there as well. So the ground line, we want to leave it as one continuous tick line. We don't want to have any other lines there. So let's use this guy instead. File, export selected. And I want to bring in my section again. Save. And this guy, I want to bring it here. Delete it. And basically the section line is going to be the same line weight, right? So I could just grab it from here. And the elevation line will be the same line weight as well. So this is how your section should read. So one continuous ground cut line that merges with the walls, and then everything else that is behind as a lighter line weight, okay? Make sure you're following this graphic style. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, the ground line merges with the cut elements for the walls. And I mean, I used 3. Sandy, I used 3. So, like for the plan, I made these lighter because they were further below my view, right? You can be practical and just do 2, but if you know like these guys are further back, you can just grab them in Illustrator and make them lighter. It just adds a nicer depth to the drawing, right? So if I make these like 0.2, it just makes it look a lot better when I zoom in. Okay? So I wanted to have line weights due this Thursday. So I wanted to go over like how to. I mean, it's super simple. You already have your 3D solid models done. It's going to be really easy, I think. It's just Illustrator work. And I think you will have a lot of fun doing stuff like this. Like, adding pochés, adding textures. No? You don't? Sure. Yeah. Huh? Let's see. So you basically start with something like this, okay? Then you add line weights, so that you basically, if you want to show detail behind some geometry, you have to make it dashed. So this house has to be dashed so that we can see stuff behind it, right? If there's geometry behind it, and you want to highlight the outlines of volumes so that they're They're kind of like they stand out in the drawing. So if I zoom in a bit more, you can see the outlines are thicker than the inner lines, and then denser elements have lighter line weights as well. And then the next step is basically taking this and adding poche and shadows to it. So you will get... No, this will be due next week. This will be due next Thursday. So you already have a model. Might as well just spend some time doing this. How long do you think it's going to take? Yeah, that's it. That's basically it. Huh? No, this is just a line drawing. Yeah. From an isometric view. I was going to talk about isometric projection today. Yeah. Well, I hope they won't change after tomorrow. So what happened is that today they modified our models. So whatever we had, personally, I'm editing right now. Sure. So I feel like I don't have anything to go there yet. Okay. That's the only thing is that they edited this morning. So you guys want to do this Thursday, all together? I don't mind it being due Thursday. Huh? I don't mind it being due Thursday. I just can't focus on it. Thursday what? Thursday at 4. Sure, that's good. Thursday at 4. We will do it in class basically, so we will go over. Well, I have time Thursday, not tomorrow. I have specific meeting times, so I have to plan my own deliverables and my own schedule. So the stuff I'm going to cover, it's already stuff you have been working with. The shadow is a custom light source. So I'm going to show you how to add a custom light source so that you can configure what type of shading you want to get on your wall, so that you can find a configuration that looks nicer, right? Because the previous assignment where you did the sections, they were kind of on the go. They were default line settings. So in this one, you will have more control over how you want to cast the shadows with a custom light source. And the rendering is basically the same. So you will use the same isometric view and take a rendering of it. And then you will basically lay it behind your drawing in Illustrator again, right? And the other stuff, this is basically some fills that I generated in Illustrator. So I'll show you how to make custom fill patterns so that you could make, like parallel lines, carpet-like things, and then adding the silhouettes is basically should be easy. Okay, this is like this will be a lot helpful for you to prepare like portfolio content later on for your studio projects, as well as do like nice drawings of them. Huh? So really it's just like a perspective view with like shadows and it's not perspective, it's all parallel projection. This is actually in scale, by the way. This drawing is in scale. So if you measured it with a ruler, it will be the right measurement. Yeah, inch-wise. Because it's an isometric projection. Say what? Yeah, all of them.